recording. Welcome everyone to Robot Builders Night Virtual for May 13, 2025. And we'll start with DPRG news and then the queue, and then we'll go to open mic. So DPRG news, because the big news that everyone is waiting for is, or is prepping for, at least some of us, is Roborama coming up Saturday week. And so we have, in terms of contests, we have Quick Trip, 2 classes, wheeled and non-wheeled. So I guess that means, Doug, you're going to bring Pie Dog back in?
I'm thinking about it. You know, like I say, I haven't dusted him off yet, but I have made some changes to his code, so it'd be interesting to see him again.
Oh. Anyone? Did you know of anyone else doing?
Well, here's how it goes. On these contests, we offer these contests. If nobody runs them, we don't do the contest. If one person does it, it's a demo. Okay? If 2 people do it, then it's a competition. So, you know, you need 2 to tango, basically.
Yep. Then line following, 2 levels, basic and advanced. And tabletop challenge. Do we have a tabletop?
We're going to do this with, if you read the rules, it's kind of like homebrew robotics out of Silicon Valley. And it's not really a contest. It's a challenge. So on a challenge, and you have to read the rules. I can't remember how I handled it, but you're not really competing against other people. You're competing against the contest. Because what we used to do this a long time ago, and we had no good way of judging it. You know, otherwise we would essentially determine the winner on style points, you know. But now when I looked at the rules that the homebrew people do it, they do it as sort of a challenge that kind of like entry level into the club, if you want to think of it, almost, you know. Otherwise you're expected to try to do the challenge. And I think they do it any time you want to do it, and they do it at least twice a year, where they have a lot of people doing it.
So what are we going to do about prizes and awards and all that for the table at Roborama for the tabletop challenge?
You have to read the rules. I can't remember what I said. I think I said that there is no prize for it. Maybe. I don't think you get a prize.
We probably do some kind of certificate saying here.
Yeah. Essentially, you get a. I think, what does it say down at the bottom? Can't. Let's see. Do.
Come on, Paul. No one does these contests for the prizes. It's the glory and the fame.
That's right.
I know, but I need to make up the correct number of like little DPRG.
Well, what this is going to do, there's going to be a website, or maybe it'll be incorporated on the members list, so that what you do is it'll just say, you know, it'll say something like tabletop challenge, and you can have a 0, 1, 2, or 3. And what depending on what you've done, it'll be on that. There might be a separate page. Separate page is easier because I don't have to screw with the other one. But so yeah, but there's going to be some sort of website acknowledgement of it.
Okay. And it looks like you wrote that robots that complete all 4 tasks will be certified as having completed the challenge, and they'll be rewarded with the equivalent of 3rd place winner in the competition.
Okay. Yeah.
And the
Okay.
robot owner is
So
only eligible
yes.
for that prize once in their lifetime.
Right.
Once in a
And I think-
lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. So, and this is not the first time you'll see this. It'll be
Okay.
something that just kind of, hopefully, it'll get some traction once some people start seeing it as a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
And mini Sumo. So I think I know Scott's ready to do mini Sumo. Mark, I think you were thinking about doing mini Sumo. Do you think
Still
you'll?
working on code.
Excellent, excellent.
Um,
And then barrel racing is a new competition.
Right.
yeah.
And I don't know if we'll get any competitors in that one, but that one, for me, that's a stretch goal because I got other things I got to do. But that one is a really interesting contest. It's great. It can be solved a million different ways. You could essentially just, do it with odometry. I mean, you could do it with that, or you could do it with distance sensors. You can do it with LiDAR. Obviously each solution is probably faster than the other one, as you go up the ladder, but be kind of cool to see how people approach it.
Are these barrels going to be in fixed places, Doug? Like, could we do dead reckoning?
The problem is you'd probably have to set that up. Well, otherwise, the course will be set up. You'd have to take measurements and do it, and do it at the meeting. You know what I mean? Otherwise, at the competition. So you should have your program saying, "Well, go straight so many feet, make a right turn, go so many feet, do a circle, and at such a place, head 45 degrees up to the next one or whatever." I think, wait a minute, how's it go? No, you go left,
one.
right,
Yep.
top, and then back. Yeah.
Yep. That'd be fun.
So yes, Dead Reckoning could do it, and that's probably the first. When we did 6 cans the first time, it was down at the what is the name of that museum downtown that we used to?
Perot.
Yeah, it was done at the Perot Museum, and the competitors was there was Karim, there was Ron, and there was myself, and I think the high thing was 1 can. I think we got 1 can in, maybe 2, and it was probably by luck. You aimed it at it and it shot straight for it or something like that. It was really, it was if you've seen how far, it is now compared to what it was, you wouldn't believe it. But that's how these contests start out. First year, anybody who runs it, they set the bar. And then after that, somebody looks at it and says, well, I can beat that. That doesn't take much. And then the next thing you know, you got a contest. So we'll see how it goes. But this one was this came out of our people up in Canada as a brainstorm, and I thought, let's try to capture it at the very least. Yeah. I would love to see it, do it. Now, you see there's a start-finish line. You have to go through that start-finish line, and it's only 9 inches long. So basically what it's saying is from where you're waiting in the waiting zone until the start line, you have to go pretty much in a straight line. Because the center of the mass of the robot has to go through goes through the starting line. Okay, so you can't just do like a straight shot for the first can.
Yeah. I kind of want to see a little jockey on a pie dog now, just running around.
Yep. Okay, so that'll be interesting if anyone attempts that. And then I think 6CAN is the big excitement because there's several of us working on that. And Scott, to give credit where credit is due, is the undisputed leader in that field at the moment. And we'll see if that lasts. So, okay, so that'll be May 24th. Then I'm lining up an interesting a site visit to Robot Lab for the June monthly meeting. So Robot Lab, we Mark and Nadine and I went to a play called Rossum's Universal Robots, written in 1920, performed by a community theater, and basically a kind of like what would you call it? I can't think of thing. Anyway, robot.
A foreshadowing? No.
yeah, perhaps. But anyway, they had a little pepper robot there. That's a greeting robot, and one of the gals who is an actor had brought it along. She works at Robot Lab, so she put me in touch with the local office, and it turns out Robot Lab is really kind of an interesting organization. They've got a head office located in South Lake, and then they've got franchises all over the country and in South America. And so I want to say probably in franchises in 20 or 30 cities. And they distribute something like 70 different robots. And you can see a list of, are you guys seeing this Choose Robots by Capability page?
Yes.
So the main areas of focus are delivery, like inside a restaurants, delivering dishes, and then cleaning and customer service and receptionist. Those are their main focus areas. But they've got a whole bunch of different types of robots, including the security robot. You remember we had Rob from Kabam Robotics come talk to us about Halo and Colab robot, their security robots. So Robot Lab represents them, and so really the way it works is the franchisees go out and find customers for in these different application areas, and find and then help the customer choose an appropriate robot for the problem that they're trying to solve. And then they've got a support team at Robot Lab headquarters in South Lake, and the actor who had brought Pepper to the show was in the support team. She was a content creator, so she'd create content for like for if you had a Pepper robot at a exhibit, she'd make it talk and announce the name of the exhibit and display the exhibit on an iPad that you could touch and get further directions and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I contacted the lady who owns the Dallas franchise, and she's very open to giving us a tour of the robots that they have. She said they normally have 20 or 30 robots at the headquarters. So I've got that set up for June. We've got a tentative date for June 28th, which is the date of the June meeting. So obviously this will be in person only. So sorry about that for the remote folks, but that's sort of how a local visit is. So anyway, that's Robot Lab coming up.
Do you know if they have any agricultural robots at their place in Dallas? I mean,
I do
place
not.
in South Lake.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know what they've got, but
Yeah, I always thought that was crazy. Good. I mean, interesting.
yeah, me too. So anyway, that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. And then thinking about having it open to input here, but I think it could be time that we had a so we had that symposium on smart cameras, AI cameras, and I'm thinking it could be appropriate to have a symposium on AI coding assistance, particularly oriented towards robotics programming. So I know I've used Ada a bunch, so has Mark. Karim, you've used Windsurf. I've got a friend I used to work with who's used a couple of others that I don't know about. Haven't found anyone who's using Cursor. So if anyone's using Cursor, let me know. But I'm thinking about that for August.
Yeah, I'm using VS Code's Copilot,
Right.
so to help out, not to do big coding, but just to help out.
Well, I think the emphasis of this kind of a panel discussion ought to be agentic coding assistance, meaning that they do more than suggest a completion of a next couple of lines of code. Like they can maybe write a whole function, and you can discuss the some proposed change with them, and then have them implement it.
Yeah, I asked it to write a whole node to do something, and it got it pretty close, 80%.
Oh, well, that's
I think
that's the kind of level that I think is interesting
yeah.
for AI coding assistance.
A person who is probably not here right now, but should be considered is Harold would probably have, if not himself, maybe some contacts into somebody who might be very into that.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, and Chris has said he's using it to help himself at work. So, a lot of us are retired, so we don't have that driving us. It'd be very interesting to hear Chris's perspective as a working person who's using AI as part of his job, as opposed to, this person who's just using it as, to help them code maybe a little bit.
And that's
maybe he's not allowed to spill the beans.
What?
Yeah.
What was that?
He might not be allowed to spill the beans.
So none of that is to discourage any kind of discussion about these topics, because they're very on point and relevant, but just to seek input on the idea of having a panel discussion like we did on smart cameras. Because we had a kind of a format for that panel discussion on smart cameras that I thought worked decently, in terms of what can they do, what do they have with them, how much do they cost, do they can they do depth, so I'm sure we can come up with some kind of like rubric against which one could have a sensible discussion about these things. So anyway, that's looking forward a little bit.
Sounds good, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I like the idea. Yeah.
Thanks for the encouragement, Carl.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else does, but I like it.
And then I guess the last piece of DPRG news is I was asked to present to the Homebrew Robotics Club about DPRG and maybe Ross or other whatever I think might be interesting to that group. So anyway, I thought it was sort of interesting that Camp Peavy, who I've known for many years, is the leader of HBRC, and it's sort of interesting that he thinks that us guys down here in Texas are maybe doing some interesting stuff. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on to the queue. We're going to start with Scott and then Mike, and then I've got a little short show and tell, and then we'll go to open mic. So Scott, take it away.
Well, I just have a short video here of see if I can. So I was running some trials. And like I said, you know, Doug got sneaky last year and put him back in the corner.
We didn't do it that far back in the corner, so
Well,
you can
I
handle
was trying
this.
to exaggerate it, but
Yeah.
what I did is I added obstacle avoidance, and you can see it there trying to avoid the wall from the LiDAR, which I had up to this point had really not used other than, you know, trying to center myself up on the course, and also kind of update when I go through the goal. So now I've integrated that in the overall algorithms and you see it there going around the wall as well, based on its, you know, obstacle avoidance.
Yeah.
So and now that I've got it working on this robot, which shares 95% of the code with CanMan, I'm working on upgrading the algorithm in the CanMan, and I forgot to pick up the can on that one, so it found the world can. But it's doing a really well job. I've also changed my kind of search algorithm, because I used to just go straight to the middle of the course, because it seems like the Pixie cams kind of have a limited range, especially since this one's focused so sharply down. So I have two search points. So I go to the first one, which is what I just did, and then I was heading to another one, which is about 3 feet away, to circle and look for a can, and that's really been helpful in being able to pick up the cans, because there's been times before, even with CanMan, that I'd go to the center of the course and circle around, and if the can was off in the corner or something, it sometimes had a hard time picking it up. So that's what the behavior is here. So it goes to a point, I think it's about 30 inches from the goal, and circles around looking for a can. As you notice, it can't pick up the can over there in the corner until it gets a little bit closer to it. And now it'll stop at the other location and circle around, and it'll eventually pick up the can.
Sweet.
So it's doing pretty well. I'm happy with it. Like I said, I'm integrating these changes into CanMan, so it has the same kind of behaviors, the same kind of search behavior.
I know you're going for first and second in 6CAN.
Yep, that's the plan.
Nice.
I just got to build a third one so I can get the trifecta.
But then there's going to have to be a rule about having at least so much percentage different in the robot. I mean,
yeah. It's kind of like Doug wanting to put cans right next to each other, you know.
Nice.
And sometimes it's just not good enough, you know.
no.
Sweet. He goes home and parks himself.
Yep,
Someday,
pretty much
you'll
right in
wanna
the
turn it
middle of
into
it
Go ahead.
as well. So anyway, that's what you were talking, Paul, that you know, y'all are working on your can robots. Well, that's what you got to deal with.
I'm shaking in my boots, Scott.
I don't mean to discourage anybody, you know, we're trying to elevate your level here.
Gold star for Scott. Nice, very nice.
Shots across the bow and gauntlet thrown.
That's right, by golly.
Well done, Scott.
Very nice. Yep.
And like I said, I had it running Foursquare. I mean, it was perfect. And then I just saw the contest list. It's like, Foursquare's not even on there. What the hell is that about? Now I got to run some barrel race. Loop-de-loop.
Yeah.
Foursquare's not on it?
And
I was
No.
planning on Foursquare. There's 2 people from Foursquare.
Sure isn't.
Four Corner.
Well, if you guys want, I'll change the list. I'll add it on.
Mhm.
Okay.
David was just thinking this come up too.
So wait a minute now. Let me get this straight. Scott, you want to do 4 cans? 4 squares?
I mean, I just figured,
Is-
you know, I
is
hadn't even looked, to be honest with you, Doug.
4 corner.
Is
So,
Four Corner the same as Foursquare?
yeah,
Four
or
corners.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, you want to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
I don't-
I've been working on it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Dave, you want to do it? Okay. It's on the list, guys.
Okay.
While you guys continue to
Quick trip,
to do,
but I might be
Mark.
able to do Foursquare.
Okay, while you guys are talking, I'm going to go update the website and put it on right now. Okay?
Okay, and we'll make sure that's prominently announced on the email list as well, so everyone knows. All right, decision made. Nice work, Scott. Mike.
Hey, Paul, can you do your demo? Because my battery was running down and I'm charging it. So
What are you asking me to do?
can you do your presentation?
Oh, sure.
Because my battery's down, so I need to start booting it up now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not much, actually. It's where is it? Yeah. So so this is a sort of a ROS oriented thing. Hopefully that's coming through for you guys okay. I'd sort of played with Foxglove one time before. Foxglove is billed as a sort of an RViz equivalent, but it's really much more than that. And what motivated me to explore it and see what it could do was that RQT Bag, which is the program that I use to inspect messages that are sent across the ROS network, just is so pitifully slow to do anything. It just is horrible, and you only get to look at messages, and sometimes it's really critical. Like, for example, when something sends a message to say, I've made a state change. You know, you need to know, you need to be able to look at that exact message, and maybe the one that came before it and the one that came after it, some of these infrequent messages are just really crucial. So anyway, that's what motivated me to look again at Foxglove, and what we're seeing here is a bag file, displaying a bag file, and there are some nice things that it does. You can scroll along it and gives you both the date and time and the elapsed time into the bag file when the cursor is, for example, on a graph, and then you can look at the messages, and you can step forward a single message at a time. So with this button, so you can see the time is changing ever so slightly, and the ODOM, the map to map message frames are incrementing, step forward and backwards, and you can add panels, and they've got a pretty wide selection of panels. So 3D viewer is comparable to AVIS, but they'll also show the diagnostics, which would be equivalent to what you used to be able to run with a RQT diagnostic viewer in ROS1, and they never implemented that for ROS2, so that would be comparable to that. You got a gauge, you can look at images, indicators, log, a map. Is it parameters? I think you can, I don't know if you can change parameters. You can plot graphs, which is what I'm doing here with this command velocity command. Publish messages, raw messages are these bag file messages over here. You can make service calls and look at, they've got a state transition capability, which is pretty neat. There was nothing comparable in either ROS1 or ROS2. Got a teleop, which there used to be an RQT drive, I think. There isn't really, there's a keyboard app, but not really a GUI one anymore. So anyway, just to say, for ROS users who are struggling with RQT bag and its pitiful performance when trying to step through different parts of a bag file and look at messages, this is something to consider.
I like it. I should try to start using it pretty soon.
Yeah, and it was just
very
like,
good.
Have you used it, Karim?
Yeah, I've been using it.
You've
It's
been
very
using
good.
all kinds of advanced stuff that is pretty
I
cool.
actually don't like that they started this out as open source and now they've pulled it back out as closed source. Although you can still get a free account, and I don't even remember what the limits are on it, but it seems like they want to keep going. And I mean, it's absolutely a top-notch product, and their bag format is more efficient, and so there's lots to recommend here. And yeah, I use it as long as it's free, but I also spend a lot of time in RViz and RQT and other kinds of tools.
Cool. Thanks. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna just show the robot. I've made some additions. So I'll just grab the robot and So one addition I did was I added a solid state drive to it. Hard to see. Okay, so I added a solid state drive to the Pi, and I said, oh, while I'm messing with it, I added a screen to it. And I wanted to use the screen for stuff. And I spent a couple of days trying to get stuff to the screen, and I failed. So it just sort of shows the login and stuff. So at least I know when it's booted up. And then I was having troubles with Wi-Fi, especially when I added the screen and put the Pi upside down. So I put a modem on it, or a router on it, the big white thing. And so now it draws a lot more power. So my battery doesn't last as long, like just a couple hours instead of 4 hours. So now I'm going to show the what I'm working on with QuickTime. I mean, 4-corner. So I'm going to place it precisely in a location. And my area is a little small, so I just did a 1 meter by 1 meter. Okay, so it's precisely placed. And so you can sort of, I need to start Ross. Hold on. Oh crap. I forgot to start Ross. Am I still moving?
No, you seem to be frozen.
Oh, wow.
I can unpin you and see if that fixes things.
Huh. That's sort of weird.
Nope, you're frozen.
Okay, so let me
There you are.
Okay, probably when I switched the Wi-Fi, I had to switch to the Wi-Fi on the modem, on the router on the robot. Okay, so let me make sure that get the ROS running here. Okay, and it's now the ROS is booting up. So wait a minute, because for some reason, well, it takes a long time to load up. The navigator takes a long time, and I have it so I wait till the navigator loads before I start loading my modules, my nodes, because I did it in life cycle, so I can hold things off.
And do you still have to set the initial pose in RViz?
Oh no, okay, so I was working on this, and 6CAN, it's not doing that great. I mean, I'm not having really good results with ROS. It's just not. It has a lot of inconsistencies. It's not consistent, and it's not real accurate. And so for 4-corner and for QuickTime, I'm using ROS, but in a real primitive way, because ROS, to do these precise things like QuickTime and 4-corner, ROS sends a velocity and and then it keeps that velocity going for a time, but its time is really erratic. and so you never get it to go where you want to go. So I redid some of the I have a timer inside my wheel micro. I can say go at this velocity for this much and then time out at this time. And so now I'm using that and I'm getting real accurate. I'll be competitive with Scott's, I think. For the four corner and quick time that just does dead reckoning, because my hardware is really good. It was just ROS that's just weird. So
the time issue that you talk about, is that in the context of the nav stack or what, just in general?
In general, I mean, I stopped using the nav stack and I was just timing the velocity. Say, hey, run this velocity for this many seconds and fractions of a second, and then stop. And it wasn't accurate. Just doing my own navigation. And the
I was doing that too.
Huh?
I was doing that too, and using all the standard topics to move data around, ODOM and what have you, and velocity and all that. But I guess I don't recall having sort of any particular timing issue.
Well, it just runs the velocity not precisely to the proper fraction of a second to have like a centimeter accuracy.
But who is producing the velocity sort of command topic?
Oh, well, the navigator itself is pretty coarse, trying to get it precisely where you want it to go. It's hard to get it to do what you want it precisely. So I just did my own commands to timing. It says, okay, set this velocity. Generate a vel command, and then I timed it, and then I said, okay, go to 0 to stop. And yeah, it's pretty close, but it's not close enough.
Well,
and it was erratic. It was erratic, especially turning radiuses and stuff.
hey, Mike. I'm sorry, I was stepped away because I was fixing a website. But if you, in ROS, I'm assuming this can be done, can you turn over control back to the robot?
I don't know what that means.
Well, what I'm saying is, okay, so you're using nav to get around the square. All right, so now you're down to, say, roughly the last foot or last 6 inches. Can you now then say, okay, here's where I think navigation says I'm here.
Oh yeah, when you go
now I'm going to just do it locally from that last.
Yeah, when you go to grab a can, you use ROS stuff to get it close, and then you got to switch to your own code to really approach the can. Okay. So this is before my battery runs out. So this is the what do I have it here? All right, so it's hard to see here, but I'm gonna sort of show here the I got the laser marker on the wall right there, and then I have the robot is in its precise location here. So I'll get back up and sort of point it to the ground a little bit and run. My 4 corners is just a 1 meter by 1 meter. And I have it running real slow too. Just to prove that it can be accurate. Yeah. So I'm just running it really slow. So it's okay. I'm just trying to do accuracy now. And then you can see there's a blue dot it's going towards. So it goes right on the blue dot. Turns around. Then go to the other blue dot. Yeah. So if I don't
Is
have
that
to
a turn until?
then it's pretty accurate. Sounds like Scott's going to be competitive on accuracy, so time is going to be a factor.
The camera, it's out of the camera range.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah,
There we go.
Is it doing a
Yeah.
turn until, or is it doing a PID loop on the turn?
huh?
Is the turn PID loop controlled, or is it just a turn until you get to some threshold?
It's just well, the wheels velocities are PID loop controlled, and I'm just sending the velocity of the wheels.
But the turn isn't PID loop controlled.
No, it's just sort of this velocity for this much time.
Right.
To do it, and then so an interesting thing is you notice here that it's not. Oops. Sorry about this. It's not pointing at the right space, but when I hit the button again, it'll go to the right. It'll go to right here, which is where it's supposed to be. So if I hit the button again, it'll, and its initial twerk will go to that position. So,
Hey, Mike, I had a similar issue because I ran Foursquare the same way you are, where I started out and I ran the course, and then the last thing you do is turn 90 degrees at the last corner. And I think it was Pat in one of the last contests they had, maybe the outdoor one, is he started in the middle of the square and ran half of it and then turned. And then that way it gives you more time, because I'm sure you have some sort of dead zone in your heading, right? You can't be 100% accurate. So if you were to run, you start at the middle of the segment and then run the 4 squares, and then the last thing you do is run the half of a segment back to where you started. Then that way, that kind of cancels out any kind of rotational buffer or rotational slack that you have built into your robot, and allows you to get a little bit closer to the spot. I thought it was a really good idea that Pat had. I mean, that was you that had that, right, Pat? And so I thought it was a really good way to kind of, like I said, cancel out, because I had the same exact problem. I would end up, but I wouldn't rotate all the way because I have what I call a heading error. So if I'm within like 1% either way of the heading, then I stop. Well, that may not be necessarily all the way around. And especially with the lag in the odometry, I just thought it was a really good idea, and certainly will help you with what you're dealing with right there.
Yeah, but I think my problem is I have a acceleration and deceleration on the microcontroller. That's where I control acceleration and deceleration.
Right.
And it goes to 0. And when it gets really close to 0, then the motors sort of don't have enough oomph to drive anymore. But the odometry remembers that it's off a little bit. And so when I start up and give a little more acceleration, it corrects itself. So I'm thinking I'm going to go into the code and not go all the way to 0 with acceleration and deceleration. So when I decelerate, it doesn't go to 0. It'll go to a point where the motor still has drive.
Well, you should. Usually the way you integrate the distance to go into your velocity. So you're not really driving velocity to 0, you're driving the distance to your target to 0. And whatever velocity it takes to get there is the velocity it takes to get there. That's how I handle it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's more, I think it's considered position-based more than velocity-based.
Well, this is all velocity-based. I was just trying to keep with the Ross thing.
I actually control my speed because my robot's always calculating how much further to the target. What's my target distance, right? That's a calculation that you're just doing constantly. What's the target heading? What's my target distance? Well, the target distance integrates directly into my speed controller. And then the target heading, or the target error, I call it, or that integrates directly into the turn controller. So then I say, okay, well, I need to turn this much to get to the heading I want to be. And I have this much further to get there. And so as I get closer to the target, that automatically integrates into my speed controller to slow the robot down.
Right. I think the Navigator and Ross does that on top of what I'm doing in the wheel controller. But I think it does all those kind of things to try to get it working at a high level. And but for me to get this accuracy, since I'm all velocity and time based and not distance based at the root hardware level, it's yeah, I think the problem is I'm like decelerating and going to zero, and it just, the motor just runs out of drive when it gets close and it doesn't turn all the way. So.
All right, I'm gonna clap for you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Don't stop a mic.
All right.
Making the robot run.
All right, thanks.
Number 9 is clapping.
We'll see.
Okay, nice. Thanks, Mike. Okay. If someone else has something else for the queue, we'll move on to open mic. Or whatever anyone ran across.
I have a question I'd like to ask the group.
Go ahead, Doug.
Has anybody ordered or received anything from China in the last 2 weeks or so they can give us their experience? Or has everybody just said, like, I'm not going to do anything until this all settles down? I was just wondering if anybody, how about you guys in Canada? Have you been ordering just normally?
I've got a package lost in China since the end of January. My last update was March 6th, and I can't apply. Well, I've applied for a refund, but I can't. They won't give it to me till the end of May.
Oh,
It wasn't very big, $10.
yeah.
I've had several orders from AliExpress in the last several months. The two which were ordinary orders, which come through Canada Customs and Canada Post, have never arrived. I have requested refunds. The first refund, after AliExpress telling me to wait an additional 60 days beyond their normal window for delivery, they finally gave me the refund for that one 2 days ago. The orders that I placed with AliExpress using their premium source delivery mechanism are coming with no problems at all, usually within 2 weeks. I just got an email yesterday or today saying that there's another one that I ordered 11 days ago, which will be delivered tomorrow.
Yeah, but you haven't seen, have you seen any price increases or anything weird like that, Tom?
No, I have not.
Okay.
And I can share my experience with you, Doug, because I've ordered PCBs out of China, just raw PCBs.
Yeah.
And I ordered some back in early April, right after the tariffs were announced, and UPS hit me up with a 20% tariff. But I've ordered boards from JCB PCB, and most of them are coming out of Korea, which I don't know if that makes a difference or not. But I hadn't gotten any more tariffs on, and because I probably ordered 4 or 5 different boards since April, and I haven't got on any of them.
I know there has been some web pages from JCL talking about JCL PCB talking about tariffs, and essentially they're going to charge you the tariff somehow, so that whatever price you pay, you pay, you know. And if
Well,
you,
what I saw was that they were shipping them from mainland China into Korea,
okay,
and they were internationally shipping them out of Korea.
gotcha.
I could see that on the shipping notice, and whether that was to avoid tariffs or not, I don't know. They did that on their own.
Okay.
But that's been my experience so far.
Okay, so you have orders from JCL or JLC, I think it is, whatever.
JCB, I think it is, but I always get it wrong. But yeah, I've ordered several different sets of boards from them in the last couple of months.
Are you still doing the $2 special, or is it more expensive?
Well, I'm doing, some of them are hobby boards, some of them are for work. So I'm doing 4-layer, you know, custom boards.
Yeah. So, but those,
about
they're
10, 11 square inches. So
okay, kind of
they're
big.
still dirt cheap. But
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm just wondering if you've actually shipped on something on their $2 special boards.
no.
No. Because there you get, what is it? I think it's, what is it? 2 inches by 2 inches or 4 inches by 4 inches. I can't remember, but it's for $2 and you get 5 boards.
Yeah, those the 2-layer ones. I usually,
Well, no, they'll do 4 too.
well, yeah, but they're not the $2 versions.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, the last ones I got were probably 2.5 inches square, 4 layers, and 5 boards and a stencil were $80 delivered.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Now, was that premium shipping?
I always go with the UPS shipping because they want to do DHL, and it always gets hung up in Cincinnati for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
UPS seems to be the best option from over there that I've run into.
So
It's a
that's
little bit
at
more
least
expensive, but-
$25 of it.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, but to me, it's worth it to know I'm going to get them.
Yeah.
You know, 2 days after they ship, they're going to show up. I mean, I've had DHL hold on to them for a week and a half.
Okay.
Does your
Or they'll
question
deliver,
based on
they'll deliver the
probably
stencil
the
and hang on to the
experience?
boards or whatever, you know, and the stencil doesn't do you much good without the boards or vice versa. So,
Yeah.
Well, Carl had a email from Adafruit that showed a huge tariff.
Yeah, that one was interesting because they, in true Adafruit, let's have a tutorial form. They outlined the 3 different components: 125%, 20%, then 25%. So that adds up to like 170% somehow. And then, so I went and asked perplexity.com, just because this seems better with current events than other ones, of how might they have come up with that. And it's, Perplexity suggested that you can't just add the percentages because they stack on top of each other. So you take the base price times 125%, or whatever the sequence was. The base price times the original might have been 25%. Then the next one was 125. So it's 125% of base plus 20. And then it's another 20% on top of base plus 1 plus 20 plus 125, or whatever it was. So it turned out to this ridiculous sum, even more ridiculous. But, and it makes me wonder, because then listening to like Marketplace on the news and stuff, they talk about how it kind of depends on was your stuff on the water at the time the tariffs were issued or not? And then there's this other little like twist of, is it a de minimis package or not, right? Because if it's under a certain value, then it's no tariff, which I know a lot of us have benefited from on Banggood and such, but.
Yeah. No,
So
that's not, that doesn't exist anymore. There's none of that. And that's, unless you have something that, like you say, is on the water, but
Yeah.
It's that's
The
not.
truth is nobody knows what's going on, and so
Nobody
everybody,
does.
it's
No.
pure chaos and uncertainty, and everybody's holding off their decisions on buying stuff as a
Yeah. result
result of that. And you can see that in what's happening with actual shipping, crossings of the
Oh, like-
Pacific and stuff like that. And it's just,
30%
and that's
crossing.
that's exactly what I'm doing. I won't order anything from China right now because
Yeah.
I have no idea who's going to mess it up, trying to figure out what to charge whom. So it's worse than the actual. It's basically a tax, but the problem here is worse than that. It's the uncertainty.
Well, and that uncertainty is like my company announced that they were just going to add 10% tariffs on everything just because of the uncertainty. Not that they were paying 10% tariffs, but they were just going to add 10% to
Just
material
in case,
costs,
right? Yeah.
just because they can, more or less.
I did hear there is a de minimis, but it's the amount changed or something, but I'm not sure that's correct, but that's one report I heard.
Oh, I've heard that it's been changing as frequently as everything else. And I'm with you guys on your company, because my company's basically screwed. If our vendor isn't able to bring over the container worth of parts sitting in a factory somewhere, then I don't know how they can keep running. If they go out of business, they're the exclusive supplier for what we need. So I don't know how we grow without them. So it's like,
I know I just bought $40,000 worth of parts out of Washington.
Oh yeah,
and it come through no problem. So the trade war, between our countries, it came through no problem.
Friendly.
And it hasn't been included yet into the war, I guess. We did allow for it in our estimate, our quote, but we'll see.
Okay, so I guess the answer is everybody's holding off, so till it all settles, the dust settles.
I ordered on May 2nd. I ordered a couple boards from Waveshare, and they've just cleared customs, and they're on to another cleared customs, and it says on to Kennedy, wherever Kennedy is, somewhere in Southern Ontario.
Okay.
And they're on their way here, so I should see them in the next few days.
So Canada doesn't have all this tariff stuff.
Yeah, but they're still hit partly by it, even if they get stuff directly from China, because sometimes, the large container ships would do multiple stops, right? So I just sent a video on how the ships are dropping off in Seattle. Well, that's right next door to Vancouver, and before times they would stop off at both locations and unload, and now the shipping is way down to the U.S. And so that's probably going to delay stuff for Canada even. It's just ripple effect.
Yeah, it's so far doesn't seem to be too bad, but like I say, Waveshare seems to be on the ball. AliExpress, the stuff ordered in January, I'm not sure that I just got given a scam number and the package has left the destination country or left the the original country. And that's it. It's March 6th, and that's where it sits. So maybe it fell off the boat. I don't know.
That's a funny thought, because a friend of mine mentioned some reports that he read that when they first came out and everything, we were going to be so liberated that there was reports of vendors or buyers asking if the ship would kind of accidentally on purpose lose their cargo into the ocean. Like, whoops, let's just knock it off. It happens all the time anyhow. So
insurance,
claim the insurance. And
okay, changing gears. I've got another question.
So you got another question, Doug? Go ahead.
Well, another query is I'd like to hear if anybody knows anything about this and if they have any thoughts. I want to call it, I believe it's by Eufy. It's their new UV Kickstarter, UV printer Kickstarter, which is It's supposed to be like, if you've been on YouTube lately, you've probably seen gazillion reviews on it, because it's supposed to be basically a game changer for people who do their own craft businesses. It's a UV printer, but it also allows you to make texture. So you can actually build up something like, I'm sure you've all seen a piece of resin or some sort of little resin statue. Well, you can make stuff like that, but it's not resin. It's actually made up of ink that's been piled up and shaped weird. I don't know all the details, Paul, but anyway, it's not cheap. It's I think it's, to get all the bells and whistles, is probably $2,500, but it's really been creating a lot of waves. Mark, you guys probably are starting to hear people asking whether the makerspace is going to buy one. Have any of you guys heard anything about it, or is that just too far from robotics for anybody to be aware of it? Okay.
Well,
All right.
I've seen a couple things on it, and it's not really a 3D printer, it's a 2D printer.
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, it can do a little bit of texture, but the cool thing about it is it can print on pretty much anything. Glass, metal, wood, you just print on it. So if you needed to put some labels on something, you could do that.
Yeah.
And it's full color.
High resolution. Yeah. I mean, the specs sound great,
What's it called, Doug?
I want to say it's EUFY, and I don't remember the model number, but if you just go out to YouTube and say UV printer or UV printer Kickstarter, it'll be all over the place. Oh yeah, Mark just put it. EufyMake, I guess.
EufyMake, like UV.
Anyway, it's fun to go, if you just it's not a new technology apparently, but it's sort of the Bamboo Labs printer version of UV printers, where they just made it where, you put your piece on the bed and you push the button and it just happens. You know what I mean? So where apparently before it was, sort of like you had to take the shakers and shake it and, do your little dance and everything. So anyway, I just say, if you're just interested in trendy new thingies that people are slobbering at the mouth about, this is one of them. So my daughter is wants one so bad she can taste it. She does that she has her website and does that sort of stuff, so just wondering if any of you guys had seen it.
I see it's $21 million funding out of a $500,000 goal.
Yeah. And I think they had such big numbers of the super deals. I think you can still get a super deal. I don't know what they call it, but where it's like the first layer quick responders. Usually they put something like the first 15 people that buy get an extra 5% or something. I think they put numbers in so big that you can still get the good prices. Anyway, but this it's kind of interesting. It's gotten a lot of rave reviews. But okay, that's all I wanted to bring up. Paul, you said you had some.
Yeah, I had a very sad day today. So I've been working on 6CAN and I started out with a naive I have come to realize the complexities in 6CAN, and it really there's a lot of stuff to do in that competition. But I had a naive approach to choosing cans, of just choosing the nearest one and then going for it. And that didn't work out. We're using a bearing off of the LiDAR because, I'm detecting them and figuring out where they are off of the LiDAR scan. And that didn't work out because with two cans were more than about 0.5 meters away, they would flicker in and out. So you might start off choosing one, and then that one would go away, and your bearing would end up being to the other one. And so it just didn't work out. So I thought, okay, I came up with a new algorithm, and I've been using Ada for almost all this coding, and it's been great. It's been like chugging along like a champ and producing repeatable code all the time and being just excellent. Today it stopped working about just after lunch, and I was like, what the heck? And it kept on giving me, you have been restricted by the rate limiting of the LLM. I've been using Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro experimental version, and which was free, which was on the free tier with practically no limiting the rate limiting that I was able to discern. So anyway, after about an hour, I started Googling for, answers, and someone on Reddit had posted a quote from someone in Google saying they've turned off this Gemini 2.5 Pro experimental 325 for the free tier users. I'm like, damn, because I use like 10K tokens at a pop to digest the design.
So
Give them money.
they sucker you in, and now you got to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, Karim.
It's a good strategy.
So I was like, damn, I might have been able to show a robot moving today, but for that. So anyway, that's my sad story. That's all I got.
Okay, Paul, I'm gonna, since you mentioned the two targets and the flickering back and forth. Well, if you're doing can soccer, one of those targets may be gone because the other robot got it. Otherwise, here you're only doing against yourself. So if you can use this strategy, well,
good point.
Pick one.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the other one, in the other one, it can really be gone.
Yeah. I've got protections against that, but yeah. Fair point. So that was my sad story. Who else has got a sad or a happy or newsworthy? I feel like I saw some interesting stuff on the web this week, but I just can't bring it to mind.
There was a new mower, a new lawnmower that got good reviews. And I want to say it's Eufy again. So I don't know if they're on. It uses 3 8-inch blades that circle around, and it uses navigation and everything. Apparently, it was just announced, and it's a very reasonably priced too.
Ooh.
It doesn't require any boundary lines or any wires or anything like that. So it's kind of an interesting development. Nicely slick, just looking at it. I'm not saying they do, but it has something on the front that looks sort of like a LiDAR light. Okay, I don't think it's a LiDAR light, but it's some form of probably depth camera that's a part of the sensor array.
Is it electric or gas?
I think it's electric, Mike. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's electric. Oh yeah, it is. I remember it now. I think it's got like 2 hours of, and it can do, well, they say it can do 1/3 of an acre. I believe.
Okay, so that's the E18 runs listed at $2,000.
Yeah, that's it.
No RTK.
You do have maps.
Right.
So you
Right.
map it, and because it mentioned in the review I was reading that what was he saying? Something like it was raining or something when he tried to first map it, and it successfully mapped it, but it took like 3 times longer than it did when it stopped raining. It was a lot faster when it stopped raining. He just map it really quick.
That's
So
a
it
nice
maps your yard and then goes after it.
That's a nice looking mower.
Yeah. Yeah. And they said, I did read that the guy said that if you got a bigger lawn, there's another model that he recommended, but that one, I think it's 1/3 of an acre.
Yes, it is.
That's plenty of, as at least for my yard, it's plenty. Can you put that link in the chat?
Yeah, I
Paul?
just put it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of good products coming out.
This is my movable obstacle. When I'm running a 6 can with obstacle detection.
Your camera is like, I
if you expand it,
cattail.
if you expand the picture, you'll see the cat.
Yeah. Yeah, he likes to chase the robot and swat at it. He says, "Don't swat at my robot."
Nice. What else? No one has anything else? We might wind it up.
All righty.
Going once, going twice. All right. Good night, everyone.
Night,
Good to
night.
see you all.
Night.
See you in a week.
Take care.
Bye.